Welcome to Rise with AI, the podcast that spotlights trailblazers in e-learning and professional training, powering you to reach new heights, create lasting impact, scale your vision, and empower others. I'm your host, and today we're joined by Bret Anderson, Operations Manager at Osmosis Association, for-profit organization founded in 2015 to professionalize open source intelligence. With over 20 years of military experience, it has helped connect 2,500 members across 82 countries to career opportunities through certifications and global events like the 10th annual Osmosis Con. Bret, it's such an honor to have you with us. Let's kick things off with something fun. So you actually work across borders, build systems from scratch, and still make time to jam on the guitar. So what's your personal ritual or habit that helps you stay grounded amidst all the moving parts?
Hey, thanks for having me. Honestly, to stay grounded, I love my family time. I love my music time. I'm on a camping retreat with my family right now and intermixing work and family. That adage where they say, build a life you don't need a vacation from is true. So I try to combine my vacation and life together every chance I get.
I love that. And so a lot of your work is really helping others as well, right? To connect thousands of professionals for career opportunities. Could you share with the audience what's one story of a member whose life actually changed through osmosis that sticks with you?
I came from the military myself, U.S. Army intelligence professional for 20 years. And when I came out of the Army, my resume in the Army didn't really get me a lot of jobs. And so that's why I partnered up with the Osmosis Association, is to try to professionalize this idea of transitioning from military to private securities to law enforcement and stuff like that. Since then, I've come across a lot of individuals that have made that exact same transition from all this great experience in the military, but what does it mean in the commercial space when you're an intelligence provider? And I learned there's a lot of things that we do great in the military that we just doesn't apply to the commercial space or vice versa. Recently, I've helped a lot of individuals when they come out. They have no idea what they want to do. They did the military, they're a logistician, or they're, any number of jobs, and they want to get in this thing called open source intelligence. And so we find training programs for them. We get them certified. We give them the skills, and we give them the resume, and then we help them find the jobs to move into that nice new career field where they get to work around the world remotely from any location they want using the internet to find out great information to help decision makers make those important decisions every day.
And what actually is some of the values, right, from that chapter when you are in the army that actually help shape how you lead today?
There's always a deadline, and in the military we have a deadline of a place and time that we need to be to conduct a certain thing. In the corporate space, there's a financial deadline too, and that's one thing I learned coming out of the military, is that there's always a dollar attached to every hour, and that was one lesson I had to learn. As an analyst in the Army, my job was to analyze things until I got to an answer, and then that answer would drive that time and space deadline. And the commercial space, though, there's a dollar tied to that. I only get so many hours to work on a project, and so I have to be much more focused and much more concise on what I do in the commercial space to maximize that dollar per hour rate that we end up charging our customers.
Well, hearing from what you actually just shared, I mean, I think it's just still so heartwarming that you also prioritize your family time, because there's no monetary value for that, but you still have that because it gives you the, I would say, invaluable value. So when you actually think about the mission right now behind Osmosis, for the past many years, what part of it actually feels personal to you?
The certification and the transition. Like I said, when I got out of the Army, I didn't know what my value was coming from a 20-year career in a certain space. And I imagine it's the same for a lot of people who spend a decade or more in a certain career. You don't really know what your value transitions to a different type of job market. I didn't know what my dollar per hour rate would have been. I had a lot of mentors along the way that kind of helped me figure that out. But what we do over in Osmosis is try to help build that pathway for people, for intelligence analysts specifically, to come over and do an intelligence type of job for corporate, for cyber, for law enforcement, for nonprofits. We work with a lot of nonprofits that even if you don't want to do the intelligence thing for a living and you just want to dabble and make the world a better place, we work with a lot of nonprofits where you can volunteer your time. Connecting people to all those different opportunities is really what drives my passion and fuel, and it's why I love Osmosis so much. With 2,500 members in 82 different countries, there's countless ways that we can help people get connected, learn skills, do a little bit of work, do a lot of work, whatever your taste kind of drives you to. So that's kind of what fuels me is just giving people something to do with their intellect and with their curiosity, and hopefully monetize that curiosity into an income in a career field.
Yeah, you touched on the term connector. I remember you also described yourself as an integrator. So what does that identity actually mean to you on a soul level?
Yeah, it's important for every business to have a model that they follow. We personally, in our company, we follow the traction model, where it describes a certain way to run your company to where you have rocks every 90 days that you work towards. And then it describes personalities that you need to run that company. And there's always a visionary, and everyone knows a visionary when you see one. They're the entrepreneurs, the go-getters, the face in front of the company, the people out there working on the company. Visionaries are fantastic human beings that have a dream that's 3 to 5, 10 years down the road. And I love it when I get to work with those individuals. Me personally, I'm an integrator. I love working with a visionary, and they give me a 3-year goal, and I get to start breaking that 3-year goal into a 1-year goal and then 90-day rocks. And that's my passion and fuel in life, is just basically making entrepreneur dreams come true. And so when you're running a company, especially, small to medium sized companies, you really want to find those people, and you may already have them. They may already be in your company. You just haven't identified the personality traits. But you want someone that can look ahead and basically outrun the headlights of the company and see where we're going. And then you need that integrator, a person like me that just sits inside the company, manages finances, culture, day to day, and a lot of things that the integrator may think is slowing them down. It's things that fuel me every single day. That I love working inside the company. I love working with the staff and building policies and building culture that employees love, so that our entire company can catch up with my visionary at 3 years down the road, and we're all in the same place. So that having that dual personality of a visionary and integrator personality really helps small to medium sized companies make that growth leap. I am an integrator. I think we're hard to find because we're the guys and gals that don't want the spotlight. We don't need to be out in front. We don't need the brand. Just leave us behind the curtain. Let us run the company in the shadows, and that's where we find our happy places. So we're a little bit rare, but definitely go look for an integrator if you're trying to grow your.
Yes, so true. And I would say that you are like the silent partner, right, behind the business, behind the brand. And as a company in a team, you need both of the different personality type to actually drive it forward. So I myself is a visionary, but sometimes I also like to be the executor and really move forward. But without the another support system, assistant, I wouldn't be able to also move the company as fast as I want to. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's a unique
And
thing about the visionaries, is visionaries can be the integrator. Especially when you're an entrepreneur starting out all by yourself, you tend to do all the roles. But you get to a point in a company between 30 and 100 people or so where you need that silent partner to start running the company so you can keep running forward.
yes. And so about the growth of the company, Osmosis started as a single conference, right? What were the biggest turning points that actually allowed it to scale to how it is right now?
My visionary and CEO, Cynthia Hetherington, had an idea over 10 years ago to just have a conference. She was a private investigator at a private investigators firm, and she still has that firm, Hetherington Group. They did a lot of great work, and she made a huge network of other investigators that she was able to rely on. At the time, there wasn't really a place for all those investigators to get together and swap notes and share things. So Cynthia had this idea of putting together a conference, and it just kind of started out. First one was in Las Vegas in 2015, where she invited a bunch of her friends and colleagues to get together for a few days in Las Vegas and have some talks and swap some notes. It was a very personal and intimate experience, and it just kind of resonated with everyone. In the private investigations and OSINT and online investigations field, it's a very community driven field because the way we do our investigations changes so rapidly. Every time the internet changes, our tradecraft has to change. Every time a law changes, our ethics and policies have to change. So it's a very rapidly changing environment. So we rely on each other to help us learn. If Twitter changes an algorithm where we can't get a Twitter fire hose anymore, we all have to change our TTPs to figure out how to do research now. If there's a leak or breach data set, we all have to know about it and understand it, where it came from, what's in it. It's a very fast growing environment. This conference started as a way to share those notes. Over the years, and to Cynthia's credit, she kept it a very entertaining and educational and intimate environment where it wasn't just a big conference with lights and speakers on stage. It was an intimate conference where you went and talked to your friends and colleagues, and you took on jobs with partners, and you built your business. And it was all about the people at the conference, not necessarily just the speakers and with their names and lights, but she kept it very focused on the attendees at the conference and be able to grow their profession from the very new and curious to the very seasoned and educated. They all got in a room together and they all traded notes back and forth. So I think that's what helped us grow over the years. And 2024, January 2024, we actually became a full-fledged association and company with our own certification. Our design behind that was to help grow our profession, because the online investigations profession, whether you call it OSINT, online investigations, private investigations, corporate due diligence, whatever you call it, when you use the internet to do research to answer questions, it's very all over the place. There's not a very well-known standard that's out there. Law enforcement officers call it one thing, government intelligence professionals call it another thing, corporate due diligence people call it another thing. So there's definitely a need for us to unite and kind of start calling it all one thing. Whether we have the right answer or not, it remains to be seen, but that's why we're an association and we grow through our members and feedback from our members. But what an association truly is there for is to start self-governing all of our practitioners before someone else has to govern us. And when it comes to the internet and privacy concerns on the internet, we want to make sure that no harm is done to anyone in any investigation. Worldwide, laws and regulations change from state to state, country to country. We want to be the association where people kind of come to and ask those questions. If you're a United Kingdom citizen who takes on a private investigation customer in Canada, whose target may end up in the United States, where do you go to find out what laws and ethics apply to all the places you're going to be touching your research? That's where Osmosis is now we kind of help all of our investigators. If you don't know all the laws, that you know someone who does. We don't have all the answers, but we've got the largest community out there of people who have experience and can help you find the answers. So through our Discords, through our news forums, through our membership, through our conferences, our job is just to educate everyone about what's out there, and then kind of help everyone professionalize and grow so that when you do hire an investigator for your firm for due diligence or law enforcement or whatever you're hiring for, you have a reasonable expectation that they can legally and ethically and technically do the job competently. Because the worst case scenario is you hire someone to do a job, and in their previous job, they may have had authorities to do things that they may not have authorities to do on your job. Leak and breach data kind of apply in there. Breach data is actually illegal to use in 3 states across the United States. It's illegal to use in several countries. The rest of the world, it's perfectly fine to use. It's on us, the professional, to know that, not necessarily our employers or our customers. So just kind of as an association, helping to apply and understand those laws and ethics wherever they go is kind of what's helped us grow. We've partnered with a lot of local associations. There's OSINT Foundations, OSINT UK, OSINT France, OSINT Italia. We're helping stand up at OSINT Uganda, and all those local associations are very powerful and great associations for their target audience set, and that's very much needed. What we do is we connect everyone around the world so that when you do have that research project, or if you want that career transition to another place, we can kind of help you bridge the gap. So I think that's what's helped our association grow over the last 10 plus years is we've kept it focused on the professionals. We do have a lot of vendors that come in and obviously help us fund a lot of things. A lot of our vendors are fantastic tool sets that help us access data and provide training and everything else. But what the real point of Osmosis is to connect the members, help them grow professionally, help them get the jobs, help them keep the jobs, help them grow through the jobs, and help all of us grow together as a trade craft. So I think that's our success model, is keep it focused on the members.
Beautiful. And how do you actually define success working with professionals over 82 countries?
Adoption and conversation and interaction. We recently ran an event. It was our first overseas official event in London, where we did a full day of training and certification, and we got to meet a lot of our local UK members and build some stronger UK partnerships. So getting around the globe is it's great travel and great fun, obviously, mixing that vacation and work lifestyle. But then just seeing and learning how other people do things that you do, but
Mm,
in their own world, it's very educational, and getting to share that knowledge across is very exciting. So, success, I think, is just getting all around the world and getting people involved and talking about what their problems are when they're doing online investigations, getting them to give us feedback. So when we provide our certification, it really is backed by 82 different countries or more around the globe, so that when someone hires an individual with our certification, it's a great hire for them. That person becomes
mm.
successful in their job, and employers can just kind of at ease look through all the resumes and look for specific things like the open source certification through Osmosis, and know they're getting a quality candidate into their pool. I think that's what success is like, is our profession is really standardized and people can grow with it and have a great life and career through it.
I think this is so essential, right? To just keep on evolving, keep on learning, always just providing, adding value to the community. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys actually face in building a global ethics-driven association?
The fact that it's global. If we were just to focus on one country, it'd probably be a lot easier.
Mm,
The United Kingdom has very specific GDPR laws. The United States, even within the United States, we've got different states with different laws. California is different from Florida, different from New York. So it's very hard to certify to say that as an international organization, we've taught you laws and ethics. Ethics we kind of treat the same no matter where we go. We've adopted what's called the Berkeley Protocol of Online Investigations. It was written in conjunction with the UN and Berkeley School of Law on basically an ethical guideline for how to collect information for war crimes. So we've kind of adopted that as our ethical standard, because when you say do no harm, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different cultures, and some cultures the threshold for do no harm is different than others. So what we had to do is we had to find the best case international guideline for ethics, and so we went with Berkeley's protocol, and we worked very closely with them to get the information out there on what they've discovered over years and years of different panels around the world for ethical collection of information. But then the hardest part is really the legal piece. When you say you certify someone in understanding the laws of international investigations, it's not necessarily we know the laws. We're not lawyers. We're investigators. What we have to know is that there are laws out there, and there's always that look before you leap mentality. When we say we do online investigations, a lot of people may think that, oh, you're just Google searching, or like I can just get my, I can just get my secretary or kid to Google search that for me and get an answer. That that is not online investigations with an ethical and legal practice. We actually hold ourselves accountable to when you ask me a question. Now I have a whole lot of research I have to do before I start researching to answer your question. What can I do to answer that question? What legally am I allowed to access before I go into this environment and start conducting my research? And as an online investigator, I'm also required to come back to my client and say, I know you want this answer. I legally can't get it for you because of these guidelines. And it's that relationship we have to build with our customers and our clients and our employers. But it's on us to understand that. So it's not just go out and hit the internet and ask your question. It's, understand your environment, understand your research left and right, legal limits, make sure you're doing everything ethically, make sure you're collecting your evidence and cataloging it correctly, because the last thing we want to do is provide a whole bunch of artifacts on what we found on the internet over to a decision maker and then make a decision. And then, especially with AI and everything else involved, that we provided them artifacts without context, or we didn't validate those artifacts to make sure they were true and accurate artifacts. And now we're providing decision makers with bad information and they make bad decisions on it. So that's why we hold ourselves so accountable for the type of research we do and how we do it, because it's so very important to our reputation as private investigators or online investigators. But it's important to our whole trade craft, because we really try to professionalize and make sure we don't get viewed as just hackers with hoodies who are just hitting the internet and illegally accessing information and resetting passwords on social media accounts and stuff like that. We are the ethical guidelines of the good team who are trying to help answer questions. And we use our curiosity applied to the internet, educated by laws and ethics and guidelines, to provide quality artifacts and information to decision makers so they can make good decisions.
If you could wave a magic wand and fast track the one thing in the online investigation industry, what would that be?
Our lexicon, as I stated before, we're very diverse in how we do our jobs, whether it be law enforcement, government, corporate. Our lexicon is all over the place. While I call it OSINT, some people call it online investigations. There are parts of the world that believe the term open source intelligence. Anything intelligence belongs to a government in that region. And that's just not entirely true. We've had business intelligence for a long time. We've had civil intelligence. We've had farmers gathering intelligence on weather patterns. Like intelligence is something that is out there for everyone to access. It's anytime we gather information and we make an assessment and we provide that assessment over to someone. So, with a magic wand, I'd like us just to all start agreeing on a lexicon of information, and that would help professionalize us across the board. So help conversations move a little quicker and easier as well, so that we can start referencing certain words, have certain meanings that apply to certain things. The cybersecurity community has done a great job with that. On our online investigations and OSINT community, I'd like to see us kind of fast track our lexicon and start agreeing on same words mean same things across the industry.
Well, yeah, it seems like there's just so many different moving parts, but yeah, it's so important also like that the investigator actually do their due diligence, right? To really know where's the level playing ground that they're actually in. Amazing. And so you mentioned about the no harm in investigations. How does this principle actually shape your approach to professionalizing this field? And why is it so critical for the OSINT credibility?
Absolutely. There's a lot of examples out there. We call it doxing in the online space. If an event goes on, whether it be a terrorist attack, a crime, or anything like that, you'll instantly see a lot of people pop up online and start providing their input to what they
Yeah.
think may be happening. They may be drawing connections. When the Boston bombers happened, we wasted a lot of time because there's a lot of just noise on the internet on some suspects that hobbyists were basically driving information to. Same thing when the truck drove through New Orleans last New Year's or New Year's before. There are people kind of doxing the suspects online. Online investigations deal with public available information. The fact of the matter is, all this information is out there. But if you don't hold yourself ethically and legally responsible, if it's an ongoing investigation, I may have all the desire in the world to help that investigation, but if I'm just throwing it out online, I'm confusing the investigation. What I should be doing is putting together a packet of information, finding out who has jurisdiction over that investigation, and providing that information just to them. We see it all the time. We call it echo chambers online, where something gets said and then it gets picked up and retweeted or repeated. Just because it gets said 10 more times doesn't make it any more true or valid. And as online investigators, we have to understand that if we just start blasting things out there, it may be true. It may have all the truth and validity that the internet can provide it, but it may not be valid to the case. We have to trust those investigators who have jurisdiction over the crime to be able to weigh and assess all that stuff. So holding ourselves accountable for doing no harm means that we're respecting the legal due process when there's an ongoing investigation and only providing our information to those individuals. But also, even after a crime is closed, there's no reason to do additional harm to someone who's going through a judicial process. We have to trust our courts and laws in each of our nations to kind of handle that. Also, when we're doing just basic business due diligence stuff, if we find out information on a business that my business is about to acquire, I shouldn't harm that business by broadcasting the information I found out on social media. It was my employer who asked me to do a research project on an acquired company. I did it. I come back. I provide my employer with a decision. It's a very closed loop. I don't have to additionally harm the target of my investigation by sharing that information outside of my closed loop and my client. Same thing with private investigators. You can think of any number of PIs that work divorce cases and adultery cases. You don't want to harm anyone in the case more than you have to for the case. So that's why when it comes to leak and breach data and stuff like that, if someone was illegally hacked and their information stolen, we don't need to further promulgate that more than it already is. We should respect the fact that they didn't want that information out there. That information can be redacted, it can be hashed, it can be protected, it can be fuzz, whatever you want to call the terms. But we should always be mindful that even our employers and our targets all have respect due to them. And as investigators, it's up to us to do no harm to either of them.
It just sounds like really there's a lot of different parties also involved, right, in this kind of work as well. Like you have to not just deal with the clients and the laws, there's also like dealing with the public as well. And so what are some of the guidelines that or how is in this industry?
Some of the misconceptions, I think, is that everything has an answer to it. Everything does not have an answer. Some questions are unanswerable, and especially as the analyst or the investigator, it's painful when I can't find the answers. Like I said earlier, every dollar has an hour, and if I only have 8 hours to research and I haven't found an answer, I have a really hard time going back to my client and saying there is no answer. But that's why I have to hone myself in my profession, and I have to work very hard to make sure if I only have 8 hours, I can use every tool imaginable in that 8 hour time frame to find whatever answer is available. But there definitely are a lot of misconceptions that there are answers to every questions, and sometimes there just aren't.
So on the personal level, I know just now you mentioned about actually having family time to actually ground you. What are some of the tools and strategy, if let's say anyone who is considering to get into this field, to also have as a routine or habit to actually help them to stay mentally sane?
Yeah, actually, June was our mental health awareness month for online investigations, and we in the world of online investigations, you can come across a lot of mentally traumatizing graphics and audio and video. And so we really try to focus on our mental health as online investigators, and we try to keep an eye on each other. To do that, most people have routines in their day. You'll find a lot of online investigators usually have cats or dogs or some sort of animal, so that sometime during the day, someone else can walk up the door and scratch or remind us to step away from the computer, go for a walk. I'm a musician. I love the outdoors. So I try to go out and intermix a lot of things together so that I can step away from the computers. As much as I love sitting at the computer for hours and hours on end, it's very healthy to just go for a walk and let the dog out. I go to the park, play with the ball and the dog for 20, 30 minutes, and then get back. Those mental breaks kind of help you realize that there is a world outside of your computer monitors. I encourage any business owner, anyone else too, to take mental breaks and physical separation from those work environments frequently, at least once or twice a day, and then specifically focus on the family throughout the weeks and months. Make sure you're dating your spouse, that you're raising your kids and everything else. The internet is endless and bottomless, and we'll get sucked in if all we do is stare at the screens all day long. So just putting in some of those checks and balances to make sure you get up, you walk away, you do something else you love in life, and then come back with a fresh mind and relocate again.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. I would say just to have pets also to just keep you or even another human being in your around so that you're not just with your laptop the whole time. I would love to hear also about your operation, because as an integrator, you are just helping out with the systems and also making sure that everything runs properly. So you mentioned the other time you use 365 to actually help streamline. What are some of the tools that also help you in this process over the years?
Yeah, there are a lot of tools. Here at Osmosis, we're a very small and slim team. We've got several contract marketing and sales and stuff like that kind of help us run as a business. But the core business itself is very small. And so we have to kind of empower ourselves to stay on track of everything that we do. Personally, we use Office 365. It's not always the best answer in every problem, but it has a lot of solutions for a lot of problems. What I found is if I start Band-Aid or, Legoing a bunch of different solutions together, then I start incurring a lot more integration time on my part, wondering if all the integrations are working. APIs are a great tool, but sometimes APIs fail, their keys expire, I don't notice. And so the more I can keep things in one environment all working together, the easier it is. It's kind of that brainwave. If you have the Apple environment, then you have the phone and the AirPods and the MacBook and the watch, and it all just kind of seamlessly communicates, and it's less stuff for you to worry about. It's the same with Office 365. Is you've got planning tools, you've got counters, you've got groups, you've got teams. so I can kind of plan my day and trust that all my alerts work across everything. There are a lot of other great tools out there that I like, but in our small company, I found that integrating different tools becomes more of a hassle than what's worth. I am an Android user. I love tinkering and playing and integrating different things. But when it comes to the business, I have to keep in mind how streamlined everything is and just kind of keep a mind on that bottom dollar and on how much of my time do I spend integrating different tools and resources when I could just be okay with using the all-in-one package that is Office 365?
Yeah, that's definitely a good strategy, keeping everything in one area. Otherwise, there's just a lot of application. So how about AI? You mentioned that do you guys also right now plan leverage on AI to do your research? Of course, you also need to vet check. Do you also plan to have AI installed in your operations or even in your investigation work?
But yeah, AI in our world is a huge conversation, and it's almost like the cybersecurity world. There are a lot of people that are worried that AI is here to take jobs. It is not. Every AI needs a user, but every user can be empowered by AI. Inside the company, we use several AI bots to just kind of help us generate job postings, HR, all sorts of stuff. And it's not that it's the end all be all, but it definitely has a huge capability to empower me to view more information in a more concise way for me to then kind of tailor for my needs. As an analyst, it's the same. When we look at AI engines, there's a ton of data out there. If you were just to think of all the transponder data from aircraft around the world that is publicly available, if you want to track aircraft or port transit
Yes.
information or any sort of logistical information, that the information is out there in huge quantities of data. Yeah, I can kind of help comb through 45 million records of port transponder data
45.
very quickly, but I still, as an analyst, I have to look at it. I can ask it what ships have been to these 7 ports, and it will give through millions of records and it'll give me all the ships that went through these 7 ports. But as an analyst, I still have to go through and vet that information. I have to look at it. Now I've got a smaller list. So it saved me the trouble of going through those millions of records, which was nice, but I still have to do my job as an analyst. So we use AI both to help run our company because we're a small company. But then in our tradecraft, we use AI a lot. Most tools and resources out there are integrating AI to some degree. As an association, I don't think we'll be applying AI to our membership. I mean, other than just a question bot on our help page, when you say I've got a question and stuff like that, AI is very useful to help there. But yeah, we definitely see AI at use in a lot of different places. We embrace it, we endorse it, but we always say there's still a human behind the AI. I always kind of equate it to you wouldn't hand a scientific calculator to a third grader before you teach them math. So whenever we have new analysts come in, we teach them all the tradecraft, we teach them all the critical thinking and research skills and all this stuff, and then we'll
Yes.
give them AI at the end just so they know how to vet it. Because if you hand a young kid a scientific calculator and just tell them to hit the division button, they're not really going to understand what goes behind that button, and they're not going to be able to think through it. So that's the way I view AI. It's a wonderful, powerful tool to help us do a lot more work and more than what we could before. But it's still just a tool that me, the human, has to understand and know how to use.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned just now, to using the tool to actually empower the user, but not just relying everything on AI, because the most powerful tool is still our mastermind over here. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And building a global network is actually tough. What's one strategy that actually employing to grow Osmosis membership over the next few months?
I think our best strategy that we've had over the years, and we're going to keep going forward, is we don't really see competitors. We see opportunities to partnership. In our space, there are plenty of other associations. I mentioned several before that have a very focused audience group, and that is great. They're not a competitor. They're an opportunity for us to partner, and we can empower each other. Again, focusing on our members are number one thing. I don't want my members to have to choose between two different associations, whether it be the local or the international. I want to find a way for them to have access to both, because in our profession, you just need access to both. So for growing forward, every time we find someone that may look like a competitor in our space, we treat them as a partner, or at least an opportunity to partner. And we try to reach out and find ways to work with them. When we went over to London, there's an OSINT UK over there. and we love those guys. They're a great team, and they do a lot of great work, and we're able to work with their members in the area to do our certification. So it might be a little nuance for some business owners to think that there isn't a competitor out there. But when you change that mindset to it's just an opportunity to partner, and I can better find ways that if they do something great, I can do something else. I think Apple did that great when Apple used to have their own Office suite and it just couldn't compete with Microsoft. And so eventually they made the decision to just stop doing their own Office suite. Why waste time and effort if someone else is already doing a great job of it? And so that's the approach we take is if there is someone that might look like a competitor, treat them like a partner opportunity, find out what they do great. It's something you don't have to do now. You can find something else to do in that space for them. And honestly, our niche has always been connecting people worldwide. So I think that's our key to success is everyone's an opportunity to partner, not necessarily a competitor.
I love that so much, yeah. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. So, but before we go, what's one tip that you will actually give to someone if they are deciding to actually break into this niche?
Be curious. Always be curious. If you're an individual who's just had that natural curiosity in life to wonder how things work, why they work, or you've never had enough answers to enough questions, then definitely give online investigations OSINT a try. Our curiosity is our superpower in this space. No matter how things change, understanding your trade craft, understanding your ethics, and that's not going to happen if you're not curious. If you just find one way to do one thing and you do it over and over again, online investigations may or may not be for you. But definitely be curious, maximize on that curious. Don't be afraid of your curiosity. There is a place for your curiosity here in the OSINT space. So definitely look out. And honestly, there's no right answer to how you get in this space. We've got a gentleman speaking at our conference coming up soon. He was a minor league baseball player with degrees in sports medicine. He is now a very successful pen tester and ethical hacker who does some OSINT work. So your curiosity is your superpower. If that's a trait that you love about yourself, then definitely give this a try.
Incredible. Yeah, that sounds like a role that anyone who is curious can get into. So if anyone wants to actually connect with you or Osmosis, where can they find you guys online?
Our website is osmosisinstitute.org. We will be updating that to Osmosis Association soon as a rebrand, but osmosisinstitute.org is our current website. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find Bret Anderson on LinkedIn and connect with me there. Once you're in our association, and membership is still free for the foreseeable future, you can join our association, join our Discord, and join our community. It's not necessarily about connecting with me. It's about connecting with everyone else in the community. So go over to osmosisinstitute.org and check us out.
Yeah, so if there's any curious beings who are very interested to get into the OSINT field and the community, all the links are in the description below. So that's all for today's episode of Rise with AI. So a huge thank you to you, Bret Anderson, for sharing your insights of personalizing, professionalizing OSINT and also connecting professionals worldwide. So listeners, if this episode inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more conversations with leaders in e-learning and professional training. Until next time, keep reaching, impacting, scaling, and empowering. See you guys next time.